Thursday, everybody. Welcome in to this live edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us. Coming up on today's show, we are going to predict where the 7 head coach openings, who will be the new head coach for all 7 teams. We have our official NFL head coach predictions coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, we will preview every single playoff game this weekend for the AFC and NFC Divisional Round. I'll give you my predictions on all those games and how the rest of the postseason will play out. And we'll also do Q&A mailbag as well. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. Super Chats get priority. We will answer those questions first here on NFL Daily. As you guys file in, get this show on the road. Shout out your favorite team. We'll shout you out as we are live and on the air here on NFL Daily. T. Jones in the house. Also got Big Tex hanging out here with me as well. Shout out your favorite team. We'll shout you out as we get this thing started. Check it in on the chat right now. Jenny's saying, where's Chase? He's here over on 49ers. I'm here. I know it's been so long since I've done a Thursday live NFL Daily because I have other obligations around here. I normally do. This is normally my show on Thursdays, but I've been doing other things. But I don't remember Chase Sr. hosting in my place. It's mostly been Jack Sparrow. We appreciate Jack for stepping in, but Daddy's home, folks. Shout out your team. We'll shout you out. Mason's a Bears fan. Jenny's a Niners fan. Dustin, a Cowboys fan. Steven, a Falcons fan. Chase says Saints. Christopher says Patriots. Steven says Bills. Dustin says Cowboys. Kings Galaxy says the Giants. Dana Moore says Bills Mafia. Shout out your favorite team as Big Tex joins me right now, the very sad Cowboy fan who is recovering from that debacle the last week. Tex, it's been a few days now. Are you feeling better?
No. Because...
Did it get worse with McCarthy coming back?
Yes. Jerry Jones does this every fucking time. Sorry, freaking time. Pardon my French.
A little too early for that.
A little too early. Sorry, yeah. He just doubles down too much. You can't expect a different outcome with the same head coach who's done this year after year. I mean, Mike McCarthy's a fraud.
Insanity. The same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Smashing my face in the head, smashing my face in the wall, watching us do the same thing over again, expecting different results. Ridiculous.
How about them Niners? This is a Niners fan. Who would have guessed? Jay, Falcons for life. Gonzalez saying, who dat, baby Saints. Steven says, love the Jags, though. Trevor Lawrence is from my hometown. Taco says, Commanders. I could go for a taco right now. Mason, Bears need C. Who is C? Daniel says, what's up? What's up, Daniel? Good to have you with us. Who will win the Super Bowl? Now, I will hold out my prediction for now because I will tell you later in the show. That's what we call a tease in the biz. But who do you think will win the Super Bowl? Get your predictions in now. We will shout everybody out. Big Tech, since I cannot say just yet, since I have to hold out and say later on, I will turn my attention to you.
Yes.
Of the remaining teams, who do you think will win the Super Bowl?
Might be biased just because I think you probably agree with this take, but I'm going with the Ravens, man. I think they're the best team in the NFL.
Ravens look good.
They do.
I'm very intrigued to see how they come out of the gates this week off of 2 weeks off for the starters. We'll talk more about that later. But get your predictions in. Samuel says the Chiefs. I like the way the Chiefs played last week. We were live for that game here at NFL Daily against the Dolphins. Steven says the Bills. Mark says the Texans. Mason says the Texans. Dustin says Ravens or 49ers. Dustin, you got to pick one. You can't give me an or, okay? This is not a college football depth chart here. You can't give me an or. Give me one team. Mason says the Texans. Christopher says Chiefs, back-to-back champs, first time since the Patriots in 2001. Mason says the Texans. Bolivian Empire says the Ravens. Dana says Ravens. Houston going to beat them. I don't know about that, Jim. Dana says the Bills. Who will win the Super Bowl? Get your predictions in now. Let us know. Yes, you got some text? Oh, you're just adjusting volume. Okay, gotcha. All right, before we go any further in today's show, let me tell you about our sponsor, and that is Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for the best seats, lowest prices guaranteed, sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. Here's how it works. Choose the event you want to go to, then you choose the seat that you want to sit in. You get that aerial view, see if you like that seat or not. If not, go find another seat. Then, within a matter of moments, you are checking out, getting your tickets. You can use Apple Pay, Google Pay. Very simple, and you can have your tickets within a matter of mere moments. Let's say you decide on a whim, you know what? I want to go see my team play in the playoffs this weekend. If you're a Ravens fan, Lions fan, Niners fan, whatever, you can do so just like that. And here is what I am giving you, since I am very generous. I am offering you $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat on your first purchase. So, download Game Time today. Terms and conditions do apply. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Promo code NFL Chat. Game Time, proud partner of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Glad to have them on board. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. Also in the chat right now. Play along and download Game Time today. All right. Divisional round this week. Got 4 really good games. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Give us your bold prediction for the divisional round. I'll start, and then I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from Big Tex too. My bold prediction. Last week, I was spot on with this of what I said, what happened, and I'm going to roll with it again. I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a fantastic game this week against the Detroit Lions. Now, here's one thing to keep in mind. We'll talk about this more later. Lions defense isn't that great. Offense is spectacular. Defense not so hot. Baker coming in with Mike Evans. That offense looked really good last week against Philly. I don't know if it's enough to win, but I do expect a big game from Baker Mayfield on the road, hostile environment, Ford Field in Detroit. That is my bold prediction. Baker Mayfield plays well against Detroit. Big Tex, give me your bold prediction. Could be an upset pick, could be a player standout. Give me a bold prediction of sorts.
Let's go crazy. How about the Packers knock off the 49ers in an upset? That's my bold prediction.
Okay. Wouldn't that be something to beat the Cowboys and the Niners back-to-back weeks on the road?
It'd make me feel better about losing to the Packers.
The last time we saw the Packers and the Niners in a playoff game was the infamous Rob Lowe NFL hat game. That hat was awesome. I love Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's great. My bold prediction, there you go, Rob Lowe returns with the NFL hat as he promotes some sitcom that will probably be canceled in a couple months. Checking in the chat. Give us your bold prediction. Pacific Northwest says NFC West. Niners win the Super Bowl. I don't think that's that bold, to be honest, Pacific Northwest. Samuel says Packers over Niners. Dana says Texans beat the Ravens. Jim Evans says Lions make it to the Super Bowl. Let's see. Got Mason, number 8, says Texans win 27-24 over the Ravens. Bills win 31-28 in overtime. Bucks beat the Lions 24-17, and the Niners beat the Packers 56-7. Pacific Northwest says, don't get me wrong, with the Seahawks out, I'm rooting for Detroit, but San Francisco will take it all. Draco says, our Ravens lose badly. Mr. Sports says, Houston over Baltimore. Green Bay over San Francisco. Detroit over Tampa Bay. Kansas City over Buffalo. Christopher says, anybody but the Bills. Dustin says, Texans win over the Ravens. Guys, besides just game predictions, give me something specific. I gave you something specific about Baker. I think Baker's going to play great this week. Tell me about a player. Give me a bold prediction about a standout of somebody. Is OBJ going to go off on Saturday? Does Brock Purdy have like a 4-interception game like he did on Christmas against the Ravens? Give me a bold prediction about a player or something here, folks. I'll wait a minute while I see what you guys come up with on some bold predictions. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Jim Evans hit the right idea. I think Romeo Doubs will get over 200 yards. That's a bold prediction. I don't agree, but I like the bold prediction. That'd be a lot of yards for Romeo Doubs if he can get over 200. What else you guys got? Oblivion says Falcons will win the offseason. Christopher, that's not nice. That's not nice. Josh Allen gets injured? Come on. Well, that's not very nice. Nick says Watson gets 2 touchdowns versus the Niners. Draco says C.J. Stroud will not throw a pick and have 300 passing yards. Skull J says Gibbs will run for 150 yards. Laura says Jordan Love will turn the ball over. Draco says Christian McCaffrey will have 3 touchdowns. All right. With that, we are at 16 likes right now. Guys, I know we can do better than that. I know we can do better than that. Like the video to start today's show. I got to get to at least 25. 25 is all I'm asking for. And then we can get this thing on the air. Like the video if you're ready to start today's show. If you want your team to win this weekend, show them some good luck and like today's video. Is it – okay, hold on a second here. You killing me with how you're saying my name, LOL. You got to tell Chase. Is it Draco? I thought it was Draco. What is it? How do you say it? Is it Draco or Draco? Draco. Okay, not Draco. I think Draco sounds better. Draco, you're Draco now. You're Draco now. Draco sounds cooler than Draco. You're Draco now. That sounds better than Draco. He says, LOL, I'll rock with it. Yeah. Yeah. Draco Pimpin sounds better than Draco Pimpin. Draco. Yes. Like Boss Boxer. Okay. Coming up on today's show, NFL head coach predictions. We will go over every single job opening, and I will tell you who their next head coach will be. We do not get to do that for the Dallas Cowboys, though, and Big Tex is sad about that. He was ready for Bill Belichick to come to Dallas. We'll do a mailbag. Big Tex, we need questions. Make Big Tex's life easier. And please send him some questions. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Please and thank you in advance. I need plenty of questions. The more the merrier. So keep that in mind. And then, at the end of the show, we will preview every single game in the divisional round this weekend. Get your questions in. GM Evan, Dana, Draco. He's Draco now. He's not Draco. He's Draco. Draco's got a question. We'll get to Draco. Lore, Nick, all of you. I need you to get your questions in. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the show coming up in our next segment. But first, head coach predictions for all 7 openings. We'll do that right here, right now on NFL Daily. Big Tex, we good? We ready to go? All right. Let's get started. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. We will go over all of the NFL head coach openings, and I will predict who the next head coach will be for every single team here on today's show. Before we do that, though, if you want your team to hire the right head coach, like today's video, send some good vibes your team's direction. Make sure that they do their job properly. Hit the like button. We'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with the head coach openings of what is available at this point in time. The Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders, and Los Angeles Chargers are all open at this point, as is the Seattle Seahawks, the Tennessee Titans, and the Washington Commanders. 7 openings at this point. Could be more potentially later, but at least for now, there is a 7 at the moment. And one job has already been filled. That is the New England Patriots, as they hired Jerod Mayo, promoted him from within to take over, replacing Bill Belichick as their new head coach. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin in Atlanta with Bill Belichick, the former New England Patriots head coach. I am predicting will be the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why that I think this happens is that you have an Atlanta Falcons team that is desperate, okay? They are looking to make a splash. Arthur Blank, their owner, is not getting any younger. They've tried some things, and it hasn't really worked. That's a team that believes they are just a quarterback and head coach away. You go get Belichick, probably go get a veteran quarterback, and you're in a division that's not very good. You're right there if you're the Atlanta Falcons. Belichick, it's interesting. With these job openings, remember how much control Belichick had with the New England Patriots. The entire time he was head coach, he was also the de facto GM. And there's not very many job openings that are going to give Belichick the power that he desires, especially with the mistakes that he made when it came to decision-making within the New England Patriots organization over the last few years. Atlanta is a team that's looking to compete that will give Belichick that power that he's looking for. To me, I think that's what ultimately ends up happening. And not to mention, they'll get out the checkbook for Belichick, too. So, prediction time. Our pin comment today, will Bill Belichick be the next Falcons head coach? Weigh in, tell us what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Chime in that comment section and let me know. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. The best seats, the lowest prices, guaranteed. Here's how it works. Choose the event you'll want to go to, and they got all the prices listed so you can see for yourself. Then you pull up the seat options, and you get the visual to see if you like that view or not. If you don't worry. Go find another seat. Then, from there, you're checking out, and you can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, number of easy options for you to get those tickets. And you can get them within just a matter of moments. I use Game Time. Went to go see my Kansas Jayhawks this past year. Got to see a couple different games and save some money with Game Time. Very easy, fast, and simple. You can do it too with Game Time. Save $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat on your first purchase. That's promo code NFL Chat to save $20 off. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Game Time, best seats, lowest prices guaranteed. Download Game Time today. Terms and conditions do apply. Number 2, the Carolina Panthers opening. And this one, I think, goes to Brian Callahan, who is the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator. Now, with David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, there has been a lot of controversy in his short tenure as the owner of this organization, and a lot of turmoil and just a lot of mistakes that have been made in how he's handled things. This is the worst opening. You have Bryce Young, who is coming off a sus rookie season, and they missed on all the draft picks they could potentially have this year by trading up for Bryce Young, and they don't have anything. They don't have anything on that roster. This is a bad job. The candidate pool isn't nearly as good for this job as some of the others. Brian Callahan's done a decent job as OC in Cincinnati. I think this is where ultimately he ends up. Next on our list, we head to Las Vegas, and that is where the Las Vegas Raiders promote from within. Antonio Pierce, their interim head coach, lands the full-time head coach opening. I know that they've been rumored with the likes of Harbaugh and Mike Vrabel and some of these other guys, but at the end of the day, Antonio Pierce earned this job with what he did, taking over just a disastrous situation. Josh McDaniels did a horrible job, and Antonio Pierce takes over, and immediately that locker room bought in to what he was selling. He may not be a big X's and O's guy, but he's a leader, and he had that locker room won over with his game plan and his mindset and what he wanted to do with that Las Vegas Raiders team. And, you know, if you're Antonio Pierce, you can surround yourself with football people. Get the right X's and O's guys and lead the charge there with Las Vegas. I really like Antonio Pierce. I was impressed, and the Raiders would be silly not to give him the job at this point. Not to mention the whole Max Crosby thing. We heard the rumblings this week that Max Crosby doesn't want to be in Vegas unless Antonio Pierce is the head coach. And when you got players like Devontae Adams there, in addition to Crosby, you got a foundation there. Now you got to build from there. I think Pierce is the right guy for that. Let's head to Los Angeles, staying in that division. That's where we find Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, heading to L.A. to be the next head coach of the Chargers. And when you look at these job openings, Jim Harbaugh pretty much can choose almost any job he wants of these openings out there. And a lot of people had connected Harbaugh to the Chicago Bears. Ultimately, they decided to keep Eberflus. And so then you go look at another team he used to play for, that being the LA Chargers, that has the best quarterback of any of these openings, and it's not even close. Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback. He's a top 5 QB in this league. And if you recall, the first time Harbaugh coached in the NFL, the quarterback situation in San Francisco wasn't great. Got handed Alex Smith, who had struggled prior to him getting there, turned things around with Alex Smith, worked really well with Colin Kaepernick. And even in the college level, he's never got to play with an elite quarterback. J.J. McCarthy even wasn't a superstar. You hand him Justin Herbert, watch what Jim Harbaugh could potentially do. I mean, he hasn't got to coach an elite quarterback probably since Andrew Luck at Stanford. It's been that long. You get him Justin Herbert, this could be incredible and would be the best thing to ever happen to Justin Herbert. He'd be the real winner here. This would be a match made in heaven. I know that the Chargers don't really have home games there in L.A. Their ownership group has been one of the worst ownership groups in football. But you got the coach and the quarterback right. Now you figure out stuff from there. But will Jim Harbaugh still go to the NFL? He could ultimately stay at Michigan. He's interviewed for the Falcons in addition to the Chargers. What do you guys think? Will he go to the NFL or not? HY for hell yes. HN for hell no. Let us know in the comments section if you think Harbaugh will go to the league or not. Stay up to date with the latest happenings across the National Football League right here on NFL Daily as we bring you daily NFL news and rumors, live shows, watch parties, and more, including for every single NFL playoff game is broadcasted right here on our NFL Daily channel. So lock us in. Subscribe now for free on everything that's happening throughout the coaching carousel. We got you covered. Subscribe now. We're on to Seattle, and that's where we find Dan Quinn, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, taking the Seattle Seahawks job. The moment this job opened, I think everybody and their mother thought that Dan Quinn was going to be the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. We obviously know about the connections he has being with that organization previously as defensive coordinator in the Legion of Boom days and everything. Goes on to the Atlanta Falcons, took them to a Super Bowl. Things went downhill from there, but he's had a nice rebound with Dallas as their DC and done a really good job. And you look at that Seattle Seahawks team, that is an organization that wants to get back to their identity of defense and being a defense-first football team. And the Seahawks defense has left a lot to be desired over the last couple of years. You bring in Dan Quinn, he's going to whip those guys up in shape. Sounds like a natural fit. He and John Schneider are very familiar with each other. The players like him. You hear from guys like KJ Wright and others. Fits the culture. I'd be surprised if Dan Quinn's not the next Seahawks head coach. We go to Tennessee, and that's where this might be a surprise to some folks. I think they go with Bobby Slowick, the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. And you look at this Titan situation. I thought they were dumb to fire Mike Vrabel, first off. I think Vrabel's the top 5 coach in this league. And usually what happens when you have somebody that does one thing one way, you tend to go the opposite direction when you're trying to course correct. And that's what I see the Tennessee Titans doing here, is that Vrabel was such a defensive-minded, meathead football guy. I think that they're trying to go the offense route and try to get Will Levis in this offense where they need to really change the identity of this team, go the opposite direction. And that's where I think a guy like Bobby Slowick makes sense. He's done a great job with Tennessee with what he's done to develop C.J. Stroud and for that offense to take off the way it has. They're very familiar with him. They see him twice a year. Watch out. I got Bobby Slowick going to Tennessee. One more to get to before we call it a day. Give us your head coaching prediction for the Tennessee Titans. Do you agree with me that's going to be Bobby Slowick, or will it be somebody else? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Last on our list, the Washington Commanders. They wind up with Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. And you look at this Washington organization now with what they've done with a new ownership group, Magic Johnson and others involved. They got bright minds now in Washington. I mean, they even got Bob Myers, the former Golden State Warriors executive, involved in this coaching search. This is not Dan Snyder's Washington football team anymore. They're changing things up with how they're doing things in Washington. And I think that they go aggressive and try to find that young offensive mind. Ben Johnson, I think, is the best young offensive mind in football right now. Now you got to go get your quarterback. You get a coach and the quarterback. Washington looks like a whole different football team. And that leaves guys like Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll on the outside of this coaching cycle. Could there come a point where Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll get coaching jobs again? Maybe so, but at least for now, I don't see that happening this cycle. If you enjoyed today's show, which, how could you not? You got me. Like the video. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right, one segment down. Got two more to go. Big Text says we need some more questions for the mailbag. So hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. I see GM Evans got some questions in. Who else? Dustin's got a question in. I need some more questions. Mr. Sports, Sam, Draco. He's Draco. He's not Draco. He's Draco. Get a question in. Kentrell, same thing. Like, I see your comment, but I need you to use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on this mailbag. $sign next to the chat box if you want to contribute. Super Chats will get priority. We will answer those in just a matter of moments, so stay tuned for that. And then coming up later, we will get to our playoff predictions segment. We'll break down every game this weekend in just a bit. So stay tuned for that. Pacific Northwest, I see in the chat, got Draco, Christopher, also getting some questions in. Keep sending in those questions. Also, if you think of more questions as we're going through the mailbag, then go ahead and send those in as we continue on today's show. So stick around for that. Big Text says we got enough questions, but keep sending them in as we're going along here on this thing. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. And we'll go ahead and get started. Text, we all set? Cool. All right, here we go. NFL fans, you need to not only subscribe to NFL Daily, but also join the Noti Gang. Those are the folks that have their notifications turned on, and they're the very first ones to find out when we have new content here on NFL Daily. For the latest happenings across the National Football League, we are your off-season headquarters. We're talking everything from trades, free agency, drafts, and more. We're covering the NFL playoffs as well. Don't miss a single moment of it. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, hit the Noti bell. We'll get started with today's show. Diana Rossini, fan. Oh, I think that's what the kids call a bonk. Checking in the chat. First question says, do you trust Lamar Jackson in the postseason? His track record isn't that great in the playoffs. Well, Diana Rossini fan, let's talk about that here. Lamar Jackson, big game coming up this weekend against the Houston Texans. And I got to tell you, I think this is a different Lamar Jackson than what we've seen in the past in these postseason games. And here's the big difference for me. This is why I'm sold that Lamar Jackson is going to get the job done this weekend, and why I believe that Lamar Jackson can take the Ravens to the Super Bowl. The system is set up for it this time. I believe he was held back in the past by Greg Roman. Greg Roman didn't know anything about how to orchestrate a passing offense. And now what we've seen from this passing offense with the Baltimore Ravens, with Todd Monken really just, creating quite the arsenal attack, and with the receiving core, how creative they've gotten, even without Mark Andrews, with the way Isaiah Likely stepped up. For me, that's the difference. We know Lamar can run. We know the Ravens are going to run the football with their running backs, and Dalvin Cook's a part of the equation now. I trust Lamar Jackson. I have no reason to not trust Lamar Jackson. In fact, I would even take things a step further and say it was blown way out of proportion the last several years when we heard Lamar can't win in the playoffs. Lamar can't get it done. Lamar is fine. He's going to play well. I expect nothing but the best from the MVP. He's going to show up in crunch time. And look, it's not like everybody is a Patrick Mahomes or a Russell Wilson that wins the Super Bowl within their first few years. even Big Ben, I get it. He won a Super Bowl in his second season in the league. Sometimes these things take time. Lamar Jackson, his time is now. So, what's your confidence level in Lamar Jackson? Scale it for me, 1 through 10. How are you feeling about the Ravens QB? I feel very confident. I'm going with a 9. No one I'd rather roll with this postseason than Lamar Jackson. Let me know, our pinned comment today, your confidence level. Christopher writes in, is Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL? Yes, I do. I think he is joining his brother John in the National Football League. And you think about it this way, okay? There's a few reasons why I think Jim Harbaugh is going to the NFL. The number one reason, I think he accomplished everything he set out to do at Michigan. It feels like when LeBron came back to Cleveland, brought home a title, and then departed to the Los Angeles Lakers shortly thereafter, he understood the assignment. The mission was accomplished, right? Jim Harbaugh came to Michigan, and none of us ever thought it was a long-term thing. The goal was to get his team to beat Ohio State, to win the Big Ten, and to win a national title. He has done everything he set out to do and brought home a title to his alma mater and has set them up for success for many years after he's gone. And they already have their replacement lined up with Sharon Moore, ready to take that job whenever Harbaugh steps away. The other factors, I think Harbaugh's always wanted to be back in the NFL. He is an NFL coach. He belongs in the National Football League. You don't have to deal with NIL and, all the recruiting nonsense and all that. We know that Michigan's got the investigations going on, and I don't think that he wants to deal with the NCAA anymore. So all those things, yes, I do think he's coming back. I would guess he goes to the Chargers, pairs up with Justin Herbert, but we'll see. But I do expect Harbaugh back in the NFL. Dave Chappelle. Good to see you, Dave. One of my favorite comedians. What will happen to Odell Beckham after this year? Will the Ravens bring him back? So that's a very good question. We heard from OBJ before the start of the 2023-2024 season say that he could potentially retire after this year, that he wanted one more go at a Super Bowl run. And for this Ravens team, you look at what they bring to the table, they got 20-plus free agents coming up this offseason. This feels like one shot, as Eminem once said, for the Ravens to get this right and to capitalize on this potential run here. I think that OBJ is going to be back in Baltimore next year, that we've seen him gel so much with Lamar. He and John Harbaugh and Monken, this coaching staff, they're all on the same page. We've heard nothing but positive things about OBJ. And you can't say that about OBJ throughout his entire career. You go back to Cleveland, that ended up poorly. You go back to the Giants, that ended poorly. He's found a good home in Baltimore, and I expect them to keep him, maybe not for the money he's making now, but a role of some sorts for him. What do you guys think? Will OBJ return to the Ravens next season? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. No man should be ever have to go with no BJ. What do you guys think? OBJ for yes. No BJ for no. Chime in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less. Whether you're talking fantasy points, passing yards, rushing yards, and more. You can mix and match different leagues, the NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. Prize Picks this week. I got Lamar to have more than 226.5 passing yards. Zay Flowers to have more than 51.5 receiving yards. And C.J. Stroud to have less than 257.5 passing plus rushing yards. Yeah. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/SailNS. If I put $20 down and that hits, we're making $100 in Prize Picks, folks. Join us. PrizePicks.com/SailNS. Promo code SailNS for $100 deposit match. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. Terms and conditions do apply. PrizePicks.com/SailNS. Jim Evan writes in, will Carolina sign Ben Johnson as head coach? The answer, no. Carolina's the worst job opening. They don't got picks. You got a rookie quarterback with question marks. You got a crazy-ass owner. Ben Johnson's going to have his pick of a couple different jobs to see what he wants. I don't think he wants that Carolina job. I would be surprised, GM Evan, if that's the case. Then another question. Should Ryan Fitzpatrick try to be an offensive coordinator? He technically was a quarterback coach in Miami when Tua was the quarterback and he was the backup. Maybe if he wants to. I personally like him on the Amazon Thursday Night Football pregame show. He does a good job there with those guys. With who's on that show? Richard Sherman, Andrew Whitworth, Tony Gonzalez. They need to get rid of Tony G. Tony G sucks on TV. But Fitzpatrick's fine on TV. I mean, the TV life I'm sure is paying him well and is stress-free. But if he wants to be an OC, I mean, he could go for that, I guess. But sounds like he's got a pretty cush life as is. Okay, so funny story. We got Draco Pimpin, but I don't think Draco sounds great, to be honest. So I call him Draco. He's Draco now. Draco Pimpin writes in. Who is made the biggest jump this year player-wise? Second-year players. Okay, very good question. Second-year players that have made a big jump this year. You know, I look at second-year players. That's a very specific question. You know, let me pull up the All-Pro list and let's talk about it here. Specific second-year players. In real time here. There's not any that come to mind right off. I guess Kyle Hamilton. That's one, of course. Kyle Hamilton was an All-Pro. We knew Kyle Hamilton was going to be good. It was just a matter of the Ravens really increasing his role. That was one specifically that came in. Sam Laporta, the Detroit Lions tight end, was another one that comes to mind that I think would be. Those are kind of the two for me on that front as far as second-year players go. But thank you, Draco, for that. Mr. Sports writes in. Do you see the Lions getting another pass rusher to help Aiden Hutchinson in the draft? Lions need some help on defense. You can never have too many pass rushers. Yeah, I absolutely could see that, Mr. Sports. Thanks for that question there. What do you guys think? Who wins the Super Bowl? Who's going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy when it's all said and done? Way in the comment section. Tell me who you think that team will be. All right. One more segment to go. Playoff predictions. Who is going to walk away with the Super Bowl trophy when it's all said and done? The divisional round. We'll break it all down here in just a moment on NFL Daily. And then we'll wrap up after that. Tex, you excited to watch some football this weekend?
Oh, yeah, man. It's going to be a good time. We got Ravens together on Saturday.
We do. Yeah, me and Tex, we got the Ravens game.
Yes, sir.
Tex is my Ravens guy now.
Oh, yeah. Ravens flock.
Tex, before we start this thing.
Yes, sir.
And I go over all these games because I need a minute to get a little drink in. What of the four games are you most looking forward to?
That's a great question. Part of me wants to see the Packers get shit pumped from the 49ers just because I hate the Packers as a Cowboys fan, but honestly...
Don't you hate the 49ers as a Cowboy fan too?
I do, but they didn't beat me in the playoffs this year, so...
Yeah, last year.
Last year, yeah. Thanks for bringing up that old trauma. Brutal. But honestly, from just like a neutral standpoint, I would say probably Ravens-Texans. I really think it's going to be fun to watch C.J. Stroud face off against Lamar Jackson. D'Amico Ryans versus John Harbaugh is going to be a great kind of matchup as well. I think that from an offensive and defensive standpoint is going to be a good time. What about you?
I think so. Bills-Chiefs.
Bills-Chiefs?
Yeah, that has my full attention. Yeah. Anytime you get Mahomes and Josh Allen on the same field, and we saw one of the best games I've ever seen in the divisional round a couple of years ago between these two teams. One important note about that game, by the way. What's different now compared to the last meeting, the overtime rules have changed in the postseason. Remember, the Chiefs won the coin toss. They went down the field. Kelsey had that touchdown. Game was over just like that.
Yep.
And Josh Allen never got the football. Well, now the new overtime rules guarantee that both teams get a possession.
They're kind of like college more than
Yes.
NFL. I like that more.
So if you get a touchdown, the game is not over. The other team still gets a shot to respond.
That's more fair.
It is.
Because either way, it's a
more fair.
coin toss. The old rules.
Especially in that game a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, they were exchanging scores back and forth. Chiefs won the coin toss. They won the game. So,
That's brutal.
yeah, I am glad that if we get to that scenario again, then we will see Mahomes and Josh Allen each get a chance.
Oh, yeah.
With that, let's go ahead and preview these games, give you my predictions. Big Tex, I was pretty good last week. 5-1. Packers screwed me over. But a lot of people were wrong about that. Let's see if we can go 4-0 this week on our picks. Let's get rich, kids. Make it rain in here. If you agree with all my picks, you will get rich. That's a promise I can't deliver, but we'll try. All right, here we go. Let's break it down for you right now here on NFL Daily. We're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and on today's show, we're going to preview every single game, give you my predictions, as well as my predictions for the rest of the postseason and how things will shake out of who will ultimately be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy when it's all said and done. Before we do, some of you may be sitting back at home and your team is out of this whole thing. Who is the team you want to lose the most? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are now just cheering against teams rather than rooting for their own team. Shout out the team you want to lose the most in the comments section, and we'll get started with today's show. The divisional round begins this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens from Baltimore. And this will be the first time we see the Baltimore Ravens this postseason. The Texans coming off a great win last week against the Cleveland Browns. The nightcap on Saturday, two very familiar teams. The Green Bay Packers squaring off with the San Francisco 49ers on Fox at 8:15 in prime time. Jordan Love trying to win back-to-back road games after putting a shellacking on the Dallas Cowboys last week. Brock Purdy went to the NFC Championship game last year. Can he get there for the second year in a row? We shall see. Then on Sunday, the Bucs take on the Lions on the Peacock Network, not the streaming service. And that game should be very interesting. Baker Mayfield going on the road, winning a game where they dominated last week against the Eagles. The Lions won an emotional game last week. Their first home playoff game ever at Ford Field. And with Stafford coming back, now how do they adjust accordingly? And then the game, I think, the best game of the weekend, Bills and Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes' first ever road playoff game, taking on a Bills team that this has been their kryptonite, getting past the divisional round. Can they do it this time as they host Patrick Mahomes and company? The Bills have been as hot as any team in the National Football League the last few weeks. 4 really good games, I might add, coming up this weekend. What is the best matchup in the divisional round this week? I think it's Bills-Chiefs personally. What do you guys think? Weigh in. Tell me in the comments section what game you are most looking forward to. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. Best seats for the lowest prices, guaranteed. Here's how it works. Download Game Time. Get $20 off with that promo code NFL Chat on your first purchase. And you choose the event you want to go to, then the seat, see if you like the seat or not. And then from there, you're checking out, getting your tickets with Apple Pay, Google Pay, a number of easy ways to get your tickets with Game Time. Don't deal with those sketchy scalpers out there. Keep it safe and simple with Game Time. And terms and conditions do apply. Link is in the comments and description of today's video. Start saving with Game Time today. Get $20 off. Promo code NFL Chat. Download Game Time today. You'll be glad you did. Now, let's get to our picks for all 4 games on today's show. And it is worth noting, before I give you my picks, Last week, I went 5-1. Cowboys let me down. I should have known to never trust the Cowboys in the playoffs. But let's see how we do this week with our picks. Let's get rich, kids. Let's get started with the Texans taking on the Ravens. That game in Baltimore Saturday afternoon. I know there's been a lot of questions over the years about Lamar Jackson come playoff time. Can Lamar get it done in the postseason? Well, the other side, you have a Houston Texans team that I think personally is playing with nothing to lose. They aren't supposed to be here, right? And that's dangerous for any team to deal with when you're presenting with that situation. I know that they've had 2 weeks off. I don't expect the Ravens to come out rusty at all. I think you're going to see Lamar play at the MVP level we've seen all season. I think that the Ravens defense is going to hold their own. They've been the best defense in the league this year. I don't have any concern about the Ravens winning this one, taking care of business at home. John Harbaugh is going to have the boys ready. I like the Ravens to win 34-27 over the Houston Texans and advance to the AFC Championship game, which then they would be hosting at home. Who do you got? You going with the Ravens or are you going with the Texans? Type BAL for Ravens, type HOU for the Houston Texans. Let us know in the comments section. Then we head to Santa Clara for the Packers and the Niners. The Packers last week shocked the world with a dominating win against the Dallas Cowboys on the road. The San Francisco 49ers, this is a team that's been competitive for a long time now, but still is waiting to bring home that Super Bowl title under Kyle Shanahan. They've been awfully close, but is this their year? That remains to be seen. Much like the Ravens, how will the Niners look coming off the bye week? What version of Brock Purdy we're going to get? If I'm going to be honest with you, the Packers have the better quarterback in this game in Jordan Love. But I like the team in San Francisco much better than I do this Green Bay Packers team. That San Francisco 49ers defense, all the skill position players. I think Green Bay is riding a nice momentum wave. They should make it interesting. But the 49ers aren't going to be losing this game at home. I'll go with San Fran, 31-24. Who do you got? You going with Green Bay or are you going with San Francisco? If you're rolling with the Packers, type GB. If you're going with San Francisco, type SF. Let's head to Detroit now, where the Lions are set to square off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I got to tell you, the Lions last week, that emotional game, bringing Stafford back, first home playoff game at Ford Field and all that, that was a lot. Now, if you're the Detroit Lions, I feel like you can almost play free of some sorts. You've got that monkey off your back. Now you can just go out there and play football. This Tampa Bay Bucs team, credit where credit's due. Baker played great last week, and that defense looked really good against Philly. But if we're going to be fair about that game, the Philadelphia Eagles had looked so bad the last few weeks that performance, I think, had just as much to do with Philadelphia's struggles as it did how well Tampa Bay played. With that said, I think Detroit's a better football team. I think Dan Campbell's going to have the guys ready. You took care of business last week. Should be competitive. I lean towards Detroit to win it at home. 24-20 is my official pick. Who do you got in this game? You going with the Bucs or are you going with the Lions? Type TB for the Buccaneers. Type DET for the Detroit Lions. Let us know in the comments section. And finally, the game of the weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes in his first ever road playoff game taking on Josh Allen. These two teams met a couple years ago in the AFC Divisional Round and gave us one of the greatest NFL playoff games of all time. The Chiefs won in overtime. Patrick Mahomes and company got the touchdown on their first possession of overtime. Josh Allen did not get to touch the football in overtime. Since that game, the overtime rules have changed in the postseason. Now, both teams are guaranteed at least one possession in overtime. Could that make the difference this time? The Chiefs, their receiving corps, has struggled. They have not been good throughout much of this year, but they've been carried by their defense. Their defense has played really good. Rashee Rice had a nice breakthrough game last week. Of course, you still have Travis Kelce. Very curious what type of hotel room Taylor Swift ends up with in Buffalo. That's a whole nother story. Meanwhile, on the Buffalo Bills side of things, they are red hot right now. And credit where credit's due to Sean McDermott for making the change at the OC position to move on from Ken Dorsey, hand the reins over to Joe Brady, who did a phenomenal job several years ago helping lead the LSU Tigers to a national championship as their OC. Josh Allen looks good. The run game with Cook and company is really clicking. The skill positions are there. I really like the tight end combination with Buffalo of what they're doing with those guys as well. I lean towards Buffalo. Very good game. Buffalo takes care of business at home. This is a team that's going to be hungry. They're going to have something to prove. I'll go with Buffalo in a close one, 28-25. Who you got? You going with the Chiefs or are you going with the Buffalo Bills? I'm leaning towards the Bills. Let me know which team you like in the comments section. Now, let's go through our picks for the AFC and the NFC Championship. I like the Ravens to beat the Bills in the AFC Championship at home. Nobody's playing better football than the Baltimore Ravens. They are looking very good. I think the Bills would be a big challenge, but the Ravens look like a complete championship caliber football team. I think they would win a close one against Buffalo in the AFC Championship. In the NFC Championship, Niners and Lions would be a hell of a football game. But I think one flaw, the difference between this matchup, would be that the Detroit Lions defense is not that great. While the Niners look like a complete team, edge goes to the Niners. They win the NFC. In the Super Bowl, I'm sticking with my original pick before this whole thing began. We're going with the logo theory. We got the Ravens defeating the 49ers to win their third Super Bowl in franchise history, their first Super Bowl title since 2012. What is going to be the Super Bowl matchup? Who are the two teams in it, and who wins the whole thing? Way in the comments section, tell us who you think that will ultimately be, and we shall see you next time right here on NFL Daily. All right, and we are just about done with today's show. Give us your Super Bowl matchup. Christopher says Chiefs-Packers is who his pick is. I'm going with Ravens-Niners, with the Ravens winning it. Christopher's got a rematch of Super Bowl I, Packers and Chiefs. Steven says Bills-Lions. I'm sure the league would just love that. Great ratings right there. Tax, give me your Super Bowl pick.
I'm thinking, let me go Ravens-Bills.
Okay. Well, they're in the same conference.
Oh.
AFC. That could be next week.
That is a neck on me. Sorry. My fault. Let me rephrase. Let me go Ravens and 49ers, Ravens
49ers. Okay.
Yeah, I think the logo theory. I think you're onto something with that.
The logo theory.
I think you're on something with that.
It's science. Checking in on the chat. Mr. Sports says Detroit-Houston. Shelly says Niners-Bills. Clayton says Cowboys. Beat whoever because I'm nuts. All right. Folks, thanks for joining us today. We will be live for every game this weekend here on our main Chat Sports channel. Come join Big Tex and I on Saturday for Ravens and Texans. We'll be live for that over on Ravens Rundown. We will see you then. Have a great rest of your week. Appreciate you joining us here on NFL Daily.